UW-Platteville, along with 391 schools across the nation and 15 other Wisconsin schools, participated in the 2011 RecycleMania competition. The contest officially began Sunday, February 6th, and ended Saturday, April 2nd. I'm sitting here with Katie and Ed, who are going to both inform us how well we actually did in RecycleMania.
Well, first I'd like to talk about the paper drive that we did last week, March 29th, and this basically was an effort to help people do spring cleaning and to maybe get rid of any old papers, newspapers, magazines, anything just lying around their office. And in one classroom, I went to the whole back wall was full of old newspapers, magazines from like the 1990s. So,
oh my God.
Yeah, so we definitely did some spring cleaning. And with that, we had some members from the Greek community that came out and helped, and that was greatly appreciated. And thank you to everybody that helped with the paper drive. And from the paper drive, just alone, that 1 hour, we collected about 3,000 pounds of paper. And from that, yeah, it's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
We were able to save 25 trees from being forested, about 10,000 gallons of fresh water used in the process of making paper, and enough energy to supply an average home with power for 9 months.
Oh.
So I thought that was very great. I thought it was awesome.
And just in 1 hour.
Yes, and, you know, there wasn't a lot of paper cuts for the day, so that was good. But some of the people, if we do it again next year, it's really an art trying to push a container over a sidewalk with cracks in it because I think some of the people spilled their paper all over the sidewalk.
You guys need some paperweights.
Something. So, yeah.
So, overall, how are we at recycling paper?
Do you want to talk about that, Ed?
Well, sure. First off, talk about a little bit about RecycleMania. And last year we were in the benchmark competition. We had 4 facilities for the buildings on campus involved. This year we went for the grand champion campus-wide. So it's roughly, Katie, how many are in the competition? 400 schools, roughly?
Well, it started out with like 400 some, but then I think they kind of got weeded out. And I looked at actually in the competition, there was like about 280 when it was all said and done.
So actually, the university this year, the final results aren't out right now, but it looks like we're going to be close to that top 50, probably right in about 55 place. As a total, we were close to 40% diversion rate, meaning that's how much we picked up for recycling as opposed to garbage. I did see a lot of growth in it as it went on. Each week it sort of got a little stronger. Sometimes we had better weeks than others. And for the most part, I'm actually quite proud of the university and their efforts. They did pretty well. There's a lot yet to do. We could make the top 10 if we try again and we try a little bit. But we also had a dorm competition, which Katie might talk about a little bit. But on the average, per person, in our housing facilities, I think it was 12.37 pounds per person during 9 weeks out of that 10 weeks. We kept track for a 9-week total, which isn't bad. Not bad. That's over a 9-week period. Most of the time, when you're talking residential homes, a person produces roughly 4 pounds of waste a day, and out of those 4 pounds, 1 pound is recyclable. So if we looked at that rate, we're kind of really low in the housing situation. And there, you can tell just by being on the routes and seeing what's in the garbage dumpster that there's actually quite a bit of recyclables left to go.
Now, looking at the university, what was the thing that we were the best at recycling and the thing that you think we were the worst at recycling?
Well, that's a variety. Cans and bottles are usually probably the least recycled out of most things. Most people think about paper and cardboard, but they don't really think about cans and bottles. And they're tough to collect because you have them in the classroom. You have them when you're walking around. And if there's not a recycling container right there, it's hard for you to say, well, I'll hold on to this until I come by a recycling container. You just kind of toss it. And then lots of times, even when there are recycling containers right there, people are walking by on their way to their next class, running a little late, whatever the story is, and they tend to throw it into the waste. So I think that was probably one of the weaker spots is cans and bottles, and that would not only be at the housing, but it would probably be in the academic facilities also. That, again, that's probably a more problematic area is the academic facilities. it's harder to recycle in a setting like the university where you have really no identity. When it's your home and you put the bin out in front of your house,
Right.
that neighbor knows you recycle. That recycle guy that picks it up knows what you're recycling. But when you're in a housing or a academic building, you really have no responsibility. So if you threw that can into the garbage, really nobody knows. And so it makes it a little tougher.
So sneaky.
Yeah.
But sometimes it helps. It actually helps when it's like that little hole on top of the recycling container, because then you're just kind of like, oh, yeah, kind of goes in there like that.
And I think we got quite a few more receptacles throughout the campus this year than what we currently had last year, and they've made some progress on that, is actually making it, I'll say, more user-friendly. So they're located in more locations throughout the building so that it's easier to find a spot to recycle.
Yeah, and I also applied for a grant through Coca-Cola, their Live Positively program. So I think we will find out the results on Friday as well, but I applied to get some bins to go with the garbage containers along outside the student center, because currently I think there's one bin now that you can recycle, like your cans, your bottles, and plastic, but I applied to get some more because I think if we put them out there, I'm hoping that people would make a conscious effort to go ahead and use them. So
I think it's one of those things too. When you're younger, when we were younger, they only stressed like paper and cardboard really when it came to recycling. But then, water bottles weren't as prevalent when we were younger. It was like more of the health thing, I think. But now that people are stressing water use and, soda on a college campus, we just weren't taught how to recycle those things really when we were younger, because the stress was always such on paper and cardboard. So I think it's one of those things we're gonna see with generations. It's gonna change, like younger generations. Hopefully they're stressing that in schools when they're younger, and they kind of grow up with that more conscious habit. So,
and in regards to that, I believe that I was talking to James Ball from the Student Center, and he said they're going to be, I think they said this is going to be a go, but they're going to put in hydration stations in the Student Center where you'll be able to go and refill your container, whatever you keep your water in, and then that way you can keep reusing that instead of having to go buy, something out of the vending machine and then, keep going through. You'll be reusing the same items by, using your same bottle over and over.
That's good, because it's hard to fill it up with the bubbler.
It is.
Gotta get down to an art with that.
It is.
Now, did you guys try comparing like the university itself to the residence hall? Like, who did better, or did you just kind of keep it as a whole?
Well, for our reports for RecycleMania, it was actually campus-wide, but there was a